We are 22S Radio. 22S Radio is 22smedia.com and 88.1 FM, KKJZ HD3, Long Beach, Los Angeles.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, and now, our World Broadcasting Tag Team Champions of the World and a Cruiserweight Champion.
I'm Ethan.
I'm James.
I'm Rob.
And this is episode 143 of Beyond the Ropes. We are BTR Pro Wrestling Talk. Oh, I don't know. We've been at this for a little while.
Been doing it for a little while now. Yep.
You can follow us on Twitter at RealBTR Radio. Facebook.com/Beyond the Ropes. YouTube, just search up Beyond the Ropes and you'll find all numbered episodes there. So you'll know how many episodes we have uploaded. Of course, you can follow me individually at EthanMB95 on Twitter. You can follow James individually at
JHW Reporter.
And you can follow Rob at
Rob Flores Media. Don't forget the R-Truth DMs for Ethan.
Yeah, let's talk about R-Truth because there was a huge title change this past week.
Wow.
R-Truth dropping that title, the 24/7 title to Akira Tozawa. Finally defending that title after like a month of not appearing on television.
How many times has Tozawa been champ?
I believe he and R-Truth are the only two to have held it more than 10 times.
More than 10 times. Okay.
So, more than 10
I didn't
times.
even, part of me didn't even think he had it maybe that many times. So,
well, you know, those reigns are
I mean, I don't know if that means they like him or, I mean, you wouldn't book him.
He's on TV. He's on TV.
I mean, he's on TV. I mean, but he's not getting into like matches or anything. It's just
he's feuding with R-Truth. I mean, that's the 24/7 feud now. No one else is going after the title anymore. So it seems like they're the only two left in that division right now. As we've seen on Monday Night Raw in the last couple of weeks, a few names from that division kind of hitting a little more spotlight, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. Let's get into WrestleMania Backlash that happened a week ago now as this airs. Go ahead, James.
Can we pull up the predictions? Because I was feeling pretty good about myself.
Yeah, let's pull up the predictions, sir. Let's do that.
I don't know how I ended, but I know I started pretty dang strong. I know that.
Let's go through it. Well, I first want to mention here, we gotta give it up to our tribal chief, Roman Reigns, once again.
Your tribal chief. Yeah.
So I'm gonna give you every week. I'm gonna be doing this. I'm gonna give you the opportunity to acknowledge Roman Reigns as your tribal chief. Go ahead, James.
Not today.
Okay. What?
Maybe next week. Maybe next week.
A true tactician in the ring. Carried Cesaro to a phenomenal performance.
Carried.
Cesaro's not a main event guy, and he brought up Cesaro to that main event level. I believe even the BTR Twitter account, I shared it there a day ago. Did you see that?
I think I'm looking at it right now. The attention to detail. Roman is the best in the world. That's from Ethan. Ethan, when you do these tweets, make sure you tag yourself. So it's not.
I'm the only one that uses this. All right, so everyone knows this. All right.
Okay, hold on. So I just want to look at this GIF. The amount of detail Roman is getting into. Okay, wait. The amount of detail Roman Reigns is getting into psychology right now is something else. That tweet doesn't make any sense. Like here, these days lifts his shoulder. Okay, you can carry on. I'm just gonna read this real quick. I want to maybe. Okay, so there's a situation in which Cesaro is going for the sharpshooter here. I'm looking at the GIF. You can follow us at RealBTR to kind of get that. Okay. So Cesaro. Okay, wait. Let me read what happens here because he looked like he's overreacting. He was overselling. It looked like.
Oh no. It's psychology. He realizes as a reflex, he kicks out. That's just reflex. Then he realizes, I'm putting in the sharpshooter here. So then he kind of freaks out and kind of tries to get out. So it's a little detailed like that. Psychology there.
Then set up. Okay, and then he does the pen. Okay, I can get behind it.
So
realizes, Okay, I can see
Yeah.
it. But
So,
I mean, I'm not impressed by the shoulder thing because I mean,
well, it was a reflex. The whole kicking it
yeah, you
apart.
got a reflex on a 2 count, but
No,
I can't appreciate
It's a
Roman
little.
Reigns for the oh my god, I'm in the sharpshooter.
It's the little
Um,
things, James.
and I'll give Roman Reigns credit. He did work the body part and he kept Cesaro pretty neutralized throughout the match. We'll talk more about it later.
All right,
We can talk about it now. I know you're on your weekly tribal chief thing, but
Well, since you're not going to acknowledge them, one of these days
Not-
you will. You
not
will
this
one
week.
of these days. Let's talk about the kickoff show. Sheamus had an open challenge here for his United States Championship. It was taken up by the one and only Ricochet, who we haven't seen in a little bit, but I know he's been having some great matches with Mustafa Ali on main
on
event.
the thing, yeah.
Mm-hmm. So we see him on. He's wearing jeans, by the way. I don't know if that's a permanent thing. He wore them on Monday Night Raw as well. So I don't know if it's a gear thing or what.
Which is kind of weird considering he's like the high flying type. Like, I mean,
yeah. So
Billy
yes.
Kidman did it, but he did it in shorts, jean shorts.
Yeah.
And John Cena wasn't a high flyer, so
yeah.
Neither was Brady. But anyways,
you can watch those matches with Ali on Hulu. It's on Hulu.
Sheesh. They're all over the place.
I don't know if they're on Peacock.
I don't know. That's it's just crazy. I mean, you almost can't get a streaming service without WWE being on it in one way or another, which is kind of neat. So
these two had a nice match. Really good showing for Ricochet here.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully we'll get to see him more on TV here. But then Sheamus ended up retaining with I believe it was a knee strike that actually got the victory over Ricochet. However, after the match, it was Ricochet that took Sheamus's coat and hat, kind of did a James Brown kind of dance at the end.
Even though he lost?
Even though he lost, he drop kicked Sheamus and took his coat and his hat. So the story continued on Raw. So.
Oh no, there's gonna be gimmick confusion, isn't there?
No, it's fine. It's fine. It wasn't bad. It showed some personality for Ricochet there. But no, Peacock is owned by NBC, Rob, and Hulu is a Disney property. So
this is correct.
The actual event kicked off with an epic triple threat match between the Raw Women's Champion Rhea Ripley taking on Asuka and Charlotte Flair. Flair rocking her best Cruella de Vil attire. By the way, we didn't have.
Do we have the predictions?
We didn't have predictions for the opening, the kickoff show match.
No, right.
But we did have predictions for the next one.
Okay, I just want to make sure you have it up because I'm gonna get on a little streak here now. Hold on, let me find my little predictions.
So James, you won it. You predicted Rhea Ripley here.
Yes, I did.
Rob predicted Charlotte Flair, and of course I predicted Rhea Ripley as well. And Ripley ended up pinning Asuka to get the 3 count here and retain the Raw Women's Championship. So it looks like Charlotte's 14th title reign is going to be on hold for a second. Unfortunately, Asuka got the pin. But the next night on Raw, there was a little more redemption. Raw was actually pretty good this week, considering the last month or so since WrestleMania. It hasn't been so great. They definitely stepped it up a lot this week.
Yeah, and I feel like that's kind of expected. One, you're getting a whole lot of rematches, and that's just kind of always been the, it's post WrestleMania hangover, whatever you want to call it. Such a big event. How do you follow it up? They kind of tone it down a little bit. So,
Yeah, absolutely. Next up, we had the SmackDown Tag Team titles on the line. So earlier in the night, it was Dolph and Robert Roode who attacked Dominic Mysterio backstage, leaving him injured. So he was in the trainer's room right before the match, and he was not cleared by the official trainers or at least they recommended him not to be involved in the match. So for most of it, Rey Mysterio, of course, was left alone here to fend for himself. So predictions here. James, you had the Mysterios. Rob had Rude and Ziggler retaining, and I had the Mysterios. Well, after a long beatdown on Rey Mysterio, we had Dominic show up, and there was a little bit of back and forth going on here.
You know what? So when he comes out, sorry to cut you off. When he comes out, and they're getting ready for that hot tag, I kind of thought maybe there was going to be a heel turn here. It crossed my mind. I was like, oh man, I mean, he could have done it any other point during the Seth Rollins feud, and that never happened. But I don't know. I was kind of waiting for something to possibly happen, and we didn't get it here.
Maybe down the line. But yes, Dominic Mysterio, after a 619 by Rey and hitting a sunset flip bomb on the outside to Dolph, taking him out of the equation. Dominic hit the frog splash, of course, tribute to his storyline father, Eddie Guerrero, as many people were saying on social media, hit that frog splash on Rude and getting the victory, becoming the first father-son duo in WWE history to win tag team championships. Big moment for them.
Yeah, big moment, but it's just kind of like, why wouldn't you just do it at WrestleMania? Like,
the titles weren't even defended at WrestleMania. That's the thing. They were defended in Smackdown before. That's
right. I mean, there could have been a match they could have kicked out or something.
There's another tag team title match we'll talk about that happened last week as we're recording this. That could have happened at WrestleMania as well. It didn't happen, but we'll talk about that in a little bit. Next up, we had perhaps the best match. Well, maybe a close second behind Roman Reigns. But the second best match of the night, I'm talking about the Lumberjack match between The Miz and Damian Priest, presented by the Army of the Dead. As they mentioned numerous times, and as we found out during the Lumberjack match. So beforehand, John Morrison, of course, Miz's tag team partner, went to the Lumberjack locker room to try and convince them, they want to do the right thing. He opens the door and a bunch of zombies, of course, from Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead film, showed up and they started walking out. And they were basically following them until they made their entrance. Damian Priest also came out. I want to say, he came out after. And then as Miz and Morrison were kind of either walking away, then we see a bunch of zombies just coming out from all sides.
Right.
One came out from under the announce table, scaring off the commentators to a safer location. I will say, before we get into it more, I felt like this was well directed, and I kind of like the zombies were realistic for their being zombies.
Right. I mean, it was good. I mean, it was different. It was good. I mean, it comes across as a big ad for the movie.
It was cheesy, but it was entertaining. I mean, there was a lot of people that found it entertaining. Shane Helms was one of those people that found it entertaining. Some people, of course, hated it.
Some people did. Some people did hate it. I mean, what? So what was the whole thing? So obviously Jericho tweets about it, saying, talking about how blood and guts, supposedly, in the eyes of some WWE executives, I think was reported, that blood and guts, AEW's blood and guts set the industry back 15 years or something like that. But Jericho responded, I mean, you can make the case. I mean, to me, it looked like something out of like something wacky out of a WWE 2K21
Yes.
storyline.
People, I did see that post,
which I think was in one of the recent games where they did do zombies. Like there was a Bray Wyatt zombie and like a John Cena zombie. Like I think that was actually a thing.
I think it was a dream sequence, but yeah, I mean, it was in a game nonetheless.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously it was an ad for Batista's movie. He even tweeted it out earlier in the day that he was going to send some of his friends over. Turned out to be the zombies.
But then it's fun. It's funny later because then isn't there the tweet after where he said like,
someone complained to him, and then he was like, "Don't talk to me about that. I'm just in the movie. Talk to Vince or something."
Oh, you talk to Vince, which I kind of didn't like because it goes against the original tweet, which makes me, I mean, no,
it does.
The original tweet's kind of like, like ad or like, someone tweeted it out for him.
Yeah.
And then he kind of gets back a hold of his account and then says, blame Vince or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I don't think Vince is like, let's bring the zombies. I don't know if that's really a Vince move. I'm sure. I mean, maybe.
It was an ad. It was an ad for a movie. They wanted to make money. Obviously, but one of their former stars is in it, Batista.
Right.
So there's a relationship there. So why not?
Is this a straight? Is this going to be in the theaters or is this a straight to?
I believe it is in theaters this week or next week, as well as Netflix very soon.
Okay.
So,
I'm assuming it has to be decent with Batista. It has to be some. I don't know.
Trailer very over the top, but I mean, it looks like a fun action film, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, it did look a little over the top, but I mean,
it's a zombie movie, so
what do you expect? Yeah.
The trailer. Predictions. I mean, to say you had Damian Priest.
There you go. So I'm 3-0.
Rob had The Miz, so 0-3, and I had Damian Priest as well, and I too am 3-0.
Okay. So hold on real quick. Are we adding up the WrestleMania result predictions too? I think we were planning on doing that.
Maybe I don't have them. I mean, we can find. I'm sure they're in here. They're on our Twitter feed. I just haven't added them up yet. But
okay, yeah. We'll do that.
Do that
after the show during the break, something like that. We'll figure it out.
Something to note. Unfortunately, it looks like during a move where Damian Priest did like a spinning heel flip off the top rope, landing on the Miz. He landed on Miz's knee. Miz was notably clutching his leg for the remainder of the match. And rumor has it he could be out for several months with an ACL tear, which is a shame because, he was one of those guys, and he's mentioned that he's never been hurt, been doing it for 17 years.
He was down pretty bad on the latest episode of Miz and Mrs. He got snipped.
I haven't seen that episode, but yeah, I've seen the ads. So
pretty funny episode. I caught it right after Raw.
It's great. This is great.
And he got snipped. So the knee injury is not the first time he's been down bad this year, technically speaking. But yeah, not a good year for the Miz so far.
Well wishes go out to the Miz, of course. We don't want to see anyone get hurt. He did get. Well, John Morrison and him did get eaten by zombies, but Morrison did appear on the next night, so he was fine. But Miz, they played it off as if he was eaten by zombies and potentially written off. So
two final things before we go to break here. So one thing that stood out to me was there was this one moment where one of the zombies was like going after Priest, and so this was after. So Morrison runs away. After, because he realizes he has to stand on the apron or outside the ring and there's zombies. So what is he going to do? And then I thought Morrison turns into his zombie because there's some big dude who pushes another zombie out of the way to get to Priest that I thought was interesting. Anyways, Morrison ends up coming back. The other thing was the arrow shot Priest does, which then just advertises the movie at the end. I thought that was kind of it
They gotta make that money. So when we return, we'll talk the remainder of WrestleMania Backlash. some new WWE releases, unfortunately, and some AEW news as well, right here on Beyond the Ropes. We are 22S Radio. 22S Radio is 22smedia.com and 88.1 FM KKJZ HD3, Long Beach, Los Angeles. Welcome back to episode 143 of Beyond the Ropes. I'm your host, Ethan, joined alongside the analyst, James Williams, and of course, producer Rob Flores. We are doing this safely via Zoom, virtually. We're almost there. I would like to think very soon we'll eventually be back in a studio, but until then, we're comfortable. Of course, I am currently in the Thunderdome, Monday Night Raw here. Rob is somewhere in NWO land over there.
NWO land.
James is in some type of room there.
You know what? Let's be fair for a second. If WCW was still around, we probably would have gotten an NWO land.
Probably. Yeah. We're talking WrestleMania Backlash here. Of course, we just finished talking about the Lumberjacks match that I personally enjoyed. Was very entertaining. Of course, we're talking the next match now. Getting into it with the SmackDown Women's Championship. I thought this was a fun match. It was between the champion, Bianca Belair, taking on the role model herself, Bayley. Fun little match here, prediction-wise. James, you had Belair. Rob had Belair. And I had Belair. So, again, a fun match here. One that will likely continue, I would assume, because Belair did use her hair to kind of roll up Bayley. It wasn't a necessarily definitive victory, as some would say, even though it was a roll-up. But clearly, looks like the storyline may continue into the next event. Belair retained the title, of course, kind of outsmarting Bayley because Bayley was trying to grab her hair throughout the match here and use it against her, and it cost her here. So.
Well, she don't want to get a welt like Sasha did. I mean, when's the last time we've seen Sasha at WrestleMania? So
that's right. Well, she did get a little bit of a whip when Bianca did a moonsault. She did the moonsault against the ropes, and her hair kind of did hit Bayley in the midsection. It wasn't as effective as the Mania one, but if you watch the GIF that's out there, it did definitely get her.
And doesn't she have like metal bands on it or something?
Sometimes she does.
Yeah, I mean, I hope it's not plastic. That hurt.
Yeah. But good match, solid enough match. I expect to see these two continuing their feud. As I mentioned, that the next pay-per-view is going to be Hell in a Cell. They moved it up from October to next month, which is usually either Money in the Bank or Extreme Rules. So one of those pay-per-views is getting moved for sure.
Yeah, they're jumping into it, which then too becomes weird if you think about it, because if this is the Money in the Bank spot, I mean, you're kind of looking at a year's, you want to leave the door open for a year build with that Money in the Bank titles or briefcase. So maybe they don't do it this year. I don't know.
Well, maybe they're trying to wait for an audience. I believe they're bringing in audiences in July. So the June pay-per-view, they figured maybe we'll just do Hell in a Cell. They already did it without a crowd before.
Considering how they did it last year, yeah, I can see that.
They could be saving either Extreme Rules, I would think more likely Money in the Bank, for July for an audience, maybe a big pop or something.
Did we like the Money in the Bank? The way they kind of went about it with the rooftop thing.
I loved it. I wish they went more into it and went into more places, honestly. But I loved it. I mean, I thought it was great.
It was almost maybe too all over the place because they had two matches going on at the same time. No,
that may have been the issue there, as well as it wasn't really a match. More so, they were just fighting in different areas. Like the when they finally got to the ring, they got to the ring. It lasted maybe 5 minutes in the ring. So
yeah.
Which again, I love the cinematic aspect of it, so I didn't mind. But I can understand them just holding off Money in the Bank for a little bit just to get the audience back. Again, they're expected to have an audience, I believe, July 16th or 17th or something. So I would assume right before.
What is that? Is that a Monday or something?
No, it's a Friday. I believe it's for SmackDown.
Okay.
I believe SmackDown's going to be the first live crowd. So.
Right.
Next up, we've got we've got another match as we're talking about WrestleMania Backlash. The WWE Championship triple threat between Bobby Lashley defending against Braun Strowman and Drew McIntyre.
So just real quick on this, my dad wasn't very impressed with, he's not just in general, the concept of triple threats, but
Sounds
you
like
know,
Jim Cornette.
yeah, but something I noticed too though is like, yeah, a second triple threat match, especially for a title, is maybe a little overdoing it, especially when it's just kind of like you're having a rematch, but then you're kind of just looking to kind of throw something else in there. Meh. Anyways, continue.
With that being said, I thought this was a fun match. I thought it was far better than what I expected. Personally,
That's for sure. I mean,
the build up to this match really didn't convince me. I didn't really care about this match. As the match happened, it was pretty entertaining. Didn't think it was the best match of the night, but I thought it did well. I mean, everyone took crazy bumps. Braun Strowman was doing dives, and all these guys were taking huge bumps on tables and through the LED boards and everything. So I thought it was an entertaining match.
And there was a couple of near falls in there that I remember. I kind of was like, oh, okay. And there was one, I think, where I almost believed Braun Strowman was going to win. And, you know, obviously that ended up not being the case. But I was like, oh, okay. So, yeah, I think to your point, it was kind of good. But it was just kind of like once you've seen one triple threat match and, you know, all the near falls that come with that in the first one, it's kind of like, seen a second one, but, yeah.
Well, we all predicted Lashley would retain. He came in, snuck that victory the last minute, like a true villain here, and retained the WWE Championship. And now we get into our main event.
5-0 here, going into the final one. Okay, let's go.
Of course, we're talking about Cesaro taking on the head of the table, the Tribal Chief, the best of the best, the end-all, be-all, Roman Reigns.
Does he say that, or are you throwing all that on?
No, those are all his nicknames. I believe they're all on a t-shirt. So he is technically the best of the best. He defeated Drew McIntyre at Survivor Series. That was the best of the best event.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
But yes, Roman Reigns and Cesaro, phenomenal. I don't know how long the match was. I would assume at least half an hour because it felt like it went on for a while.
It went a good little while.
But it was a great match. I really enjoyed it. Cesaro, obviously, a great in-ring competitor. Not to take anything away from him. Definitely long overdue for a title match because this was, I believe, his first major title match. And
it was first world title match. If anything, I believe they even mentioned that on the
10 years. 10 years since his debut. I remember watching him at SummerSlam. I was there in person when he won. He beat Santino Marella in the kickoff show for the United States Championship at SummerSlam.
Oh wow!
So that was 10 years ago, 2011. So
I think I was kind of surprised to hear. I think if I remember correctly, they said he was like a 7-time tag team champion.
He's been tag team champion with Tyson Kidd.
With Sheamus
a few times. Yeah. Shinsuke Nakamura. I believe those are all his reigns there, 7-time.
That's pretty crazy.
So he's had a number of title reigns, number of moments, but not a big moment like that. Going against Roman Reigns, of course, unfortunately came up short for him. But we all did predict. You see, even though you're not acknowledging Roman as your tribal chief, you still side with him, which I don't like. I don't appreciate that.
It's just a smart business move. I knew it was gonna happen. I mean, I'm not saying he's horrible. I'm just saying I'm not committed to him the same way you are.
Mm-mm. You're totally like Jimmy Uso right now, who thought Cesaro was gonna win this. I mean,
you know, I'm not all in on what Jimmy Uso was telling Jay earlier in the night too. We need to be a tag team. I was yelling at the screen, no, you don't.
Jay Uso is main event Jay right now.
That's what I'm saying.
Jimmy needs to fall in line. See, I tweeted this to Naomi because she replied to something, and then I tweeted her, tell him to fall in line. And then I get a bunch of these
You got all the Naomi fans after you, huh?
And they're a couple of them. They're fine. I handled them. But yeah, these little Twitter people, keyboard warriors over here. Mind your business, all right? I'm over here trying to have a conversation with Naomi over here, and they're trying to get in my business here. I'm talking to you. All right, so she needs to tell him to fall in line. All right.
You're a troll and you don't even know it.
Look, I wasn't being rude or anything. I just said,
good for you.
I was being respectful. I'm not gonna be one of the. I'm not hiding behind a photo or something.
You got your picture on there. You're right.
No, so anyways,
you don't got Baron Corbin as your profile photo or anything. I got you credit.
Yeah, exactly. We'll talk about Baron right now, but this Friday on Smackdown, it's already aired by the time this gets released. But Roman did have a message for Jimmy saying he's going to see him Friday on SmackDown. So, however, after the match, Jey Uso did come out, wanted to leave a statement on Cesaro, and then we got to see the Drip God himself.
And I got kind of lost.
Phenomenal suit. I mean, he literal Drip God. He comes out, great new music, by the way. Comes in, steps to Roman. I bet they got you. They got you, James.
Oh, yeah, a little bit.
They thought, oh, he's coming after Roman. No. Drip God went up to Cesaro over here. Left him
but
lane.
It's kind of like, why wouldn't he? He should have. Go for Roman. What are you doing, Seth? Don't you want to win the title? Don't you want to be in that conversation? I mean,
he has unfinished business with Cesaro, okay? He needs to.
Because he lost at WrestleMania, I guess.
He was on the 100th episode of The Bump this past week, looking great. He had some great classes, and I think was wearing a robe. Did you watch that? It's on Twitter. I'll retweet it. But, you know, he was talking about he needed to bring Cesaro down some levels. That's why he came out to Cesaro first. Yes, he wants the title. He did mention that, but he wants to take care of some unfinished business. He and Adam Cole interacted on The Bump. Unfortunately, they got into a little heated argument because Adam Cole was siding with Cesaro because they're a part of the party on Up, Down, Down whole thing. But it was nice to see them interact. So there you go.
So let's talk about the word drip for a second here.
Well, hold on. Let's just talk about predictions. Really, let me wrap this up and then we'll talk about drip. James and I we had the same predictions, and
So you copied me?
No, I had the same predictions, and we we're undefeated at WrestleMania Backlash.
There you go.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say this was entirely a predictable like pay-per-view either. Like,
well,
I mean, yes or no. I mean, if you look at the triple threat match, I mean,
there's two matches I think that could have gone either way.
That Rhea match could have gone.
The Rhea match and the SmackDown Tag Team Title match, I think, could have gone either way.
Yes, exactly. And
I think the rest of them were pretty obvious. So
maybe more or less, but still, I mean, considering now that I remember my WrestleMania record, I went nearly undefeated the first night, and I did terrible the second night. So, it's sometimes you just never know.
Yeah. So before we get back on the drip, Rob is asking here on the chat anything going on with Apollo. Apollo is defending his Intercontinental Championship. It would have already happened again as we are pre-recording against Big E, Kevin Owens, and Sami Zayn in a fatal four-way match on SmackDown. I don't know why they're making that face, James. Look at that.
Why?
It's going to be a phenomenal match because they've been feuding for a few weeks. All four of those guys have been in this picture here. And it's going to lead to a great match, I'm sure. But go ahead. Talk about your drip, James, here. What you were talking about.
I don't know if a new WWE writer or like if a WWE writer just discovered this word or what. But it's just being used too much now. Like all of a sudden, like I don't know who started it or what, but now it's like Seth Rollins is using it, but then John Morrison is using it. Then doesn't he have it like on his headband or something?
Yeah.
So it's like there's gimmick infringement there or something. And
well, look, it's Johnny Drip. and it's
Right,
Seth
okay.
Drippin' Rollins. They're
But
two
that's
different
too
things.
much. That's too much.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
No,
Everyone
it's
uses a
not.
DDT. Everyone uses a clothesline.
Are they on the same show?
No, they're different shows. It's fine.
Still. And I feel like they're not the only ones. I feel
They
like
interact-
someone else
they do interact
is
on
using
Twitter.
it too.
They do interact on Twitter once in a while, going back and forth about drip, but that's
Okay.
fine. Maybe it leads to a match, as Rob is predicting here.
As long as there's a conversation and they both acknowledge that they're both,
They
I
acknowledge.
just don't. All right. I just want to make sure it's not going unsaid. Like,
No, they've had a few words going back and forth on Twitter already, so
okay.
that would be a great match to see, actually, because they're two phenomenal performers. We'll quickly talk about SmackDown. We have a few minutes here. Just kind of some highlights, because I know we usually don't talk about SmackDown because it kind of gets lost in the shuffle. Some highlights from SmackDowns of the last few weeks. Shinsuke Nakamura has stolen Baron Corbin's crown.
Yeah.
He was seen on Twitter recently driving around wearing it. So the King of Strong Style is back. That's great.
Okay, if they want to go with that, because I was a little worried at first. I did see it. I've seen him with the crown since then, and I was kind of like, oh man, if they're putting the crown on you, that means they don't have any. Not that they don't have anything for you, but it's such a template gimmick to where you almost it's almost like there's a puzzle laying on the table and they just fit you in it. Like, I mean,
he looks good wearing it. He is a King of Strong Style.
Don't get me wrong, it does apply, and I think it totally works. But now also, so does that mean we're taking the gimmick off of Corbin now? Is he no longer the king?
Well, no, I just think he stole his crown. I don't know necessarily. Maybe this will lead to a overthrown king potentially. I don't know. Maybe
yeah, I mean that'd be a cool little storyline. I'm okay with it. I don't hate it. I'm just saying. I didn't think about the King of Strong Style thing. I think that works. I think the storyline could have some potential. I think, a lot of people don't like Baron Corbin. I like Shinsuke, so I don't hate it.
It's great. Other big SmackDown news last Friday, as we're recording this, Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler defended their women's tag team titles against Natalya and Tamina in a nice match that they had on SmackDown. Tamina hitting that Superfly splash on Nia Jax to pick up the victory and winning her first major title in 11 years.
The first of her WWE career, correct?
She has won the 24/7 title. So they kept saying major title, obviously.
We talked about it.
Yeah, we talked about it, yeah. But yes, this was her first title. And of course, she was very emotional. They had an interview after the match. They even got pyro at SmackDown. This was a match I was talking about that could have happened at Mania. I mean, it did happen, but they didn't pull the trigger then. That would have been a nice moment for Tamina. There was a backstage video of her getting her side plates put in. Again, very emotional. So all the wrestlers sending their love to her and Natalya. Fun fact for you, James. I know you like this.
Okay.
They won those titles in the same building where the Hart Foundation won Tag Team Gold in 1987.
There you go. Is that why they had the side-by-side photo on Twitter? Brett and Anvil and okay.
I believe so, yeah.
I respect it. All right.
So there you go.
Thank you for acknowledging the Hart Foundation, Bret Hart, without me having to mention it first. I appreciate you.
I knew you like that. So
yep.
So wrapping up here, when we return, we got some AEW news, some big news for AEW.
And some NXT stuff.
We got a little bit of NXT stuff to talk about, and then of course we do have some breaking news that hit. This morning, I guess technically, kind of on the down low, but it's been reported. Some more releases that have occurred. So we'll talk about that. Some people are excited. Some people are happy about this, and obviously some are not so happy about this, about certain wrestlers.
Okay.
But yes, we'll talk about that, some NXT, and much more right here on Beyond the Ropes. We are 22S Radio. 22S Radio is 22smedia.com and 88.1 FM, KKJZ HD3, Long Beach, Los Angeles. Welcome back to episode 143 of Beyond the Ropes. Of course, I'm your host, Ethan, joined alongside the analyst, James Williams, and of course, producer, Rob Flores. You can follow us on Twitter at MuleBCR Radio, Facebook.com/Beyond the Ropes, and of course, YouTube. Just search up Beyond the Ropes, and you'll find over 140 episodes currently uploaded there. Of course, we're talking some WWE releases, talking NXT releases. We'll get into the numbers in a minute, but 2 releases come from referees. One of them being a controversial figure of the last year, Drake Wirtz, has been released, also known as Drake Younger. He's kind of he was at one point kind of the head official of NXT. He covered most of the matches. The main
the muscular dude.
He's a guy that in the last number of months, he's kind of been featured on a number of controversial accounts.
Yeah.
He went on a live stream, I think, on a city council at one point at the WWE Performance Center.
Right, wearing, I think, maybe a shirt or something.
A WWE Performance Center shirt, but like he was like on the public council or whatever meeting or whatever. So
something about like face mask and
yes, he was exactly
in Florida
and last year as well during the whole Black Lives Matter situation. Obviously, right. I think he was.
And he like dang near like teared up over the mask stuff, and because I watched it, and I think there were like people clapping for him. I don't know if the council was just live, but
Florida's crazy, James.
If Florida is crazy, and he was all for it, I guess. So they released him. Do we know if it was exactly related to some of that stuff, or was there anything said?
It could have been. We don't have exact details. There were a number of other releases. Another referee, Jake Clemens. I don't know who that is, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. But I mean, if we watch NXT, maybe we'll find out. If someone's obviously missing.
Yeah.
This one's an interesting one. Alexander Wolff released. So he was on NXT just this past week, and he was just kicked out of Imperium.
I was gonna say,
which would explain a lot now.
Because I had that on my notes as Killian Dane attacked Wolff, or no, he had a match with Wolff, beat Wolff, and then Imperium that kicks him out of the group, right?
Yeah, so they kind of been teasing Alexander Wolff potentially teaming or siding again with Killian Dane. Obviously, their history with Sanity as teammates, and they kind of been pushing the storyline. But it looks like they either dropped it or this was just leading up to him getting kicked out of Imperium. Apparently, I guess his contract. He did tweet out his contract was coming to an end in June. So I don't know if this was a mutual release. It may have been. I believe he doesn't have Alexander Wolff in his Twitter name. I forget what it's.
June. So it's not even like not like you wanted out early for 90 days or anything like that. It ended in June.
His contract June 15. I think he's free June 16th. So he doesn't have a 90-day no complete. I don't believe NXT stars get 90-day no complete. They could go, right after.
Right.
But yeah, it looks like he's done. I think the way his tweet went, I didn't remember a lot of it, but it looks like he may have wanted out. So there you go. Another one, Kavita Davi, who was, I believe, the first. I don't know if she was the first, but she was one of the first Indian female wrestlers who was signed. Okay. A couple of years ago, I remember her name kind of coming up. I believe she wrestled at like one of the super shows or something. She may have wrestled on NXT once or twice and may have been in the Mae Classic once or twice. But yeah, she has not been a full-time wrestler there. This one's an interesting one. Jessamyn Duke, one of the 4 horsewomen of the MMA, obviously friends with Rousey, Marina Shafir, and Shayna Baszler. She got released.
She's been on the Twitch channel still, or on the YouTube channel. I mean, she was. Yeah, she was
down.
Yeah, she's been on up, down, and she was one of the ones, right? They had this whole thing where it was like, oh, they're not supposed to be on their Twitch accounts or whatever, but she had still kind of been uploading content. And I always wondered why or what, or I mean, I
So,
can't really tell you if she's ever had a match in NXT or WWE. Yeah, I mean, I know she showed up and for the Ronda Rousey stuff, but
she
has she
had
ever had a match?
she had a couple of tag matches with Marina. They were a team. Marina, I know, has either been injured or gotten injured, so that's the reason she wasn't really
Who's
featured.
Marina? Is that the other Four Horsemen?
Roderick's wife, Roderick Strong's wife.
Oh,
She appeared recently with him when he, quote
when he
unquote,
showed back up.
but no, she's been featured a few times.
I've never seen her in a match.
It's been over a year. It was when Shayna was at NXT, so it's been over a year. And they were briefly kind of featured as her henchmen, I guess.
Okay.
And then the last one is Vanessa Bourne, who hasn't been on TV in over a year.
Ooh.
Apparently, she was going to be called up to SmackDown, and it never happened, and they just released her.
And who is this?
She was a part of. She was a team with Aaliyah in NXT.
Okay, Aaliyah sounds familiar.
She's on the Robert Stone brand right now.
Oh, Aaliyah is, right?
Aaliyah is. Vanessa Bourne, I'm trying to remember if she was a part of the Robert Stone brand or not. But I don't know. They were tag team. She's been out for over a year. And so, yeah. Robert
No
Stone,
relation to Doink, huh?
not that I know of. No. So those are some releases there.
Okay, no.
If we hear anything else, we'll obviously mention it here on the show in a future episode. Robert Stone has two people he manages right now. He's gone through a few different people, but he's managing two people right now. And no, it's not any males. Or just females, Rob. All right, let's talk about NXT. You got some numbers for us, James?
Yeah, so before we get into NXT, just jumping back to Raw real quick, 1.8 million for the May 17th show, and then for your May 18th episode of NXT, you had an even 700,000 apparently. So I think that might be a small trend going up for NXT.
NXT, that's around 700,000 around there.
I would say so. And I believe you'll have some AEW news for us a little bit later, correct?
A little bit. Let's talk some NXT. Over the last couple of weeks, I don't know if we've had too many discussions, but we got a couple. We have a new champion, NXT North American champion, Bronson Reed, in a steel cage match, defeated the Ways leader, Johnny Gargano, in a steel cage. He jumped off that top rope, hit that tsunami splash. On the exact day of his 14th year, he started as a pro wrestler, won that North American Championship.
Look at you coming in with all the big facts today.
They said it on. They made a big deal about it on.
Doesn't matter. Giving you credit.
All right, I'll take it. It is next week, or this week, I guess, as this is airing. Frankie Monet, formerly known as Taya Valkyrie, will be making her big debut. Exciting stuff. We'll also be getting Finn Balor versus Karrion Kross for the NXT Championship. There's a sequel here. That's going to be happening this week on NXT. Should be a great match.
And they did a nice little video package on
Prime Target
on Twitter that I saw. It was about 5 minutes long. So I mean, it was a little more than just a hype up video package like you would see for Austin and Rock or Austin and Taker or Mankind and Taker. It kind of had the guys like reacting to the match they had. It had Paul Heyman on it. It had Pat McAfee on it. It was pretty good. It was good. I saw the time on it when I started the video, and I was like, 5 minutes. I don't know. What are they going to do? What are they going to tell me in 5 minutes? Maybe if it's one or two, but I'm like, all right, whatever. I'll watch it. I watched it, and it wasn't that bad. If anything, it got me a little more invested in the match. People gave some predictions. Some people think Cross will win. Some people think Finn Balor is going to come back and win. So we'll see.
We'll see indeed. In 2 weeks, I believe we're getting an NXT Tag Team title match between MSK defending against Legado del Fantasma. So
I believe that was just announced. Or yesterday, I guess yesterday that was announced.
Yeah, for NXT.
June 1st.
So that's pretty good. We did get a phenomenal best 2 out of 3 falls cruiserweight match, I guess now 2 weeks ago. between Santos Escobar of Legado against Kushida. That was a fun match there. Kushida retaining. No LA Knight. LA Knight.
Wait.
Go ahead.
Did what's his name lose the title?
The Cruiserweight title?
Yeah.
Kushida?
No, the other guy.
Santos?
Yeah, he lost the title already?
He lost it at the week after TakeOver.
That's right. He did.
He lost it. It was like an open challenge, and he lost it right away.
Yeah, why did they do that?
I was a nice surprise. I don't know. Kushida, to be fair, is great, and he had to lose it to someone, I guess.
Yeah, but that quick?
I mean, he had it for like months. He had it for like a year.
Yeah. I don't know. You just kind of think after a match like that, you would have a stronger build. Like, I mean, you use it as a building block to whatever your run's supposed to be, but not.
I mean, I guess.
I mean, you can make the case that, yeah, he had a ladder match, yada, yada, and of course the night before he's not 100%.
Well,
So
he's moving on. Maybe move on to that North American title picture now.
maybe.
So, other news, NXT news. Bobby Fish returned. Beautiful Bobby Fish. Looks to be challenging Pete Dunne. Might be getting that very soon.
When was the last time Bobby Fish wrestled?
War Games. He got hurt. War Games. That was December.
And then prior to that?
Prior to that, I don't remember. But
like when he was gone doing this movie thing, whatever. No, I'm not like joking.
No, he got hurt. He did get hurt. He had a torn tricep.
Okay.
So he
I'm
was
just saying that.
Although he could have been on a movie set. He does have the face of an actor.
Do you have a favorite Bobby Fish match?
When he and Kyle won those NXT Tag Team titles for the first time.
Against who?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
That's fair. I'm not judging you. I couldn't tell you either. So
that's you could. I don't remember who were tag team titles.
You could have lied, and I would have agreed with you. So it's all right. Maybe the author's pain. I don't know. Maybe. Actually, that's
not wrong there. Potentially there. It could be against Pete Dunne. That could be my favorite match because Pete Dunne did do an interview during NXT where he said he's not had a bad match since he's been signed with WWE, and he's not wrong. I don't think I can name a match where he's technically been like boring or anything.
Who, Pete Dunne?
Yeah, Pete Dunne. I mean,
yeah, I don't think so either. Any
of his matches, you look at them, they're pretty darn entertaining. So that should be a good little feud there. Cool Kyle, still looking cool as ever.
Still looking cool. When is the last time he's had a match?
Yesterday. He wrestled against Oney Lorcan.
Okay.
Last week, I guess.
I'm just making sure he's doing something more than looking cool.
Well, he works. He's a good worker. $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase made an appearance, costing Cameron Grimes a match. I don't know what this is leading to. Maybe he brings back the $1 million title. I don't know.
Yeah, I saw that on the recap of the show. Well, I guess it looked like he was interfering in Grimes' match. I think Grimes lost the match. But a big pop here in the Williams household, obviously. I'm always a big fan of the $1 Million Man's theme song and the laugh whenever he comes out. So I totally popped for it. And I'm excited. I'm excited to see him there and then kind of follow through with some sort of, whatever. You have a veteran guy there at NXT to talk to some of these guys, but then also you have some good follow-up there where you saw Cameron Grimes kind of pretending to be the $1 Million Man with his money and whatnot. And then you actually get the $1 Million Man. I mean, how many times have they kind of done gimmicks or used throwback references like they did with Eugene, for example, but then they never had the person come through. So I think this is pretty neat. And also, I think Ted DiBiase Jr. and I think Sr. and I think his other son, they got in some trouble for something recently, I think. Something with money. I think they were paid money to speak to people and there was something. Look it up.
Interesting.
But yeah, I mean, apparently everything seems to be well if he's in WWE. But anyways, nice to see him back. I mean, I don't know if the $1 Million Man needs money. I mean, he's $1 Million Man, but
apparently not. He bought a house for $20 million, outbidding Cameron Grimes. So,
oh well, there you go. I mean, when you have
All
that
right.
kind of money, you can do that.
So that's kind of our NXT recap. What's been going on over the last few weeks. I did want to talk a little bit about Raw, but now that we're getting to it, we're running low on time here.
How much time do we have?
6 minutes.
Give us the AEW news, and if you have anything else. But I do want to get to at least one thing in Raw that really grinded my gears.
Oh dear. All right. So breaking news from Deadline earlier today, or at least that's where I saw it first. AEW's Dynamite will move to TBS in January of 2022. They'll be adding a new hour-long series. AEW Rampage will debut on August 13th at 10 p.m., which will be Fridays. It too will relocate to TBS with Dynamite in 2022. So it looks like they're switching networks, being forced out, despite what people were saying that they were, despite what Tony Khan was saying that they weren't going to move.
So wait, what day is it still going to be on the same day?
It's still going to be on Wednesdays.
So why are they moving again?
I believe it's the NHL thing.
Oh, because it might have just been a big contract.
Yeah, so they're moving to TBS now, with a brand new show, AEW Rampage, happening on Fridays. I believe it's right after SmackDown. So of course, they got to get that viewership for Rampage on TBS. So I don't know, 4 AEW shows. Does anyone watch their YouTube show?
No, but I mean, to be fair, I mean, if they're signing talent, they got this talent. I mean, they need to be doing something with them. So
I guess. I don't know. We'll talk about Raw in a second. I just, want to quickly mention, as we're recording this, it's been 4 or 5 days now, since we lost New Jack, wrestler known, of course, ECW legend, or wrestling legend at this point. I mean, very synonymous with ECW and hardcore, and kind of jumping off. I don't know, what is it?
He's the scaffold, or he was on the.
He was a scaffold. He didn't jump off that one, but he jumped off.
He threw someone off the scaffold.
He threw someone off the scaffold. He's nearly killed someone.
He's like stabbed people during a match, and go watch the Dark Side of the Ring episode. They just did it. He was on last season. He was featured on it, and I mean, it was probably, if anything, I had heard of New Jack growing up. He was one of the action figures I had, just out of curiosity, of an ECW action figure back in the day. He was one that I had, so I always kind of knew who New Jack was, but I really didn't understand a lot of his story until I watched that Dark Side of the Ring episode, which was about a year ago now. So yeah, I mean, it kind of tough, especially after you just learn a lot more about someone through a documentary like that, and then unfortunately, I don't know if they came up. Did they have he
passed away at the age of 58 years old. He had a heart attack. So yeah, don't know anything else. I know he does have a pro wrestling tee store now up. His wife set it up. So yeah, I think all the funds go to him. So I know Paul Heyman. I don't know if he made peace with Paul, but I know Paul Heyman did do a 3-minute segment to close out Talking Smack. We paid tribute to him. And it was nice. Jim Cornette mentioned it on his podcast. He saw it. He loved it. He mentioned some stories with New Jack, because he was on the outs with him too for like 15 years, I believe he said. But then they were on good terms. I believe he even said he messaged him a few weeks ago. Actually, he messaged Cornette's wife or partner, saying that he was happy. He would have thought he would have been happy with a wife and settled down and everything. So it's crazy to see that. So rest in peace, New Jack. Let's quickly get to some Raw. You had some.
So just real quick on Raw, as we kind of close out the show here, one thing that kind of bothers me a little bit was, I guess it was open challenge, whatever the situation was, with Bobby Lashley coming out, they teasing it as if he was going to defend the title. It's going to be an open challenge for the belt. Apparently that ends up not being the case. When Kofi Kingston comes down to the ring to accept Bobby Lashley's challenge, I think this was only before Kofi had already beat Randy Orton earlier in the night, if I'm not mistaken. But the thing that bothered me about it was when I was tweeting it out, and I mean, they even kind of played it up where even Kofi was under the impression it was going to be a WWE title match during, as he's kind of making his way to the ring, accepting the challenge. But if that would have been a title match, I think that might have been the first world title match in which it was two black wrestlers competing against each other, at least maybe in WWE. And I don't know that for sure, but I'm going off the amount of world champions there have been that have been black and who their opponents have been. I can't recall any of them really having any between two African Americans or two black wrestlers. So I don't want to say it was a missed opportunity, but something I was excited about. And then when you find out it's not for the title, a little bit of a bummer. But and interesting just in general for them to go ahead and go with Kofi Kingston to accept the challenge and work double duty that night. I would love to know more about why that was the case. Obviously, he's a good worker. So yeah, Ethan, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm ready for another Kofi Kingston title reign, honestly. But to close out the show, just want to wish Andre the Giant a 75th, happy 75th heavenly birthday to Andre. Until then, this has been Beyond the Ropes, and this episode has been absolutely too sweet.